Welcome to the Cohn Zone. I'm Grant Cohn, and that's my dad standing up. He's going to explain why.
I got some splaining to do, everybody. I got an attack of sciatica. I never knew what sciatica was. And it turns out one of my discs is pushing on my sciatic nerve. And I got to tell you, really hurts. So I've been doing a lot of lying down on the floor with ice on my back and standing. Sitting kills me. It just hurts up and down my side and my leg to my foot. So I apologize. I didn't even get dressed up. I'm wearing my old Stanford t-shirt. And, I was proud to go to Stanford. And I always thought I was a clerical error, Iggy. Because you're smarter than me and you didn't get in.
No, they thought about it. They waitlisted me and they were like, you know what? No, I don't like this guy. Maybe I was the clerical error. No, you got in. It's a nice shirt. And it's a nice little jean pullover you got there. Not quite a jacket, but a long sleeve shirt. It's nice.
Yeah. It's not like Dante Pettis.
No, it's not like Dante Pettis.
I think we should. Now I explained. Let's get into it before I plot.
Exactly. We can't waste time. So first topic. This is your topic. We talked about this on the phone this morning. There's 8 quarterbacks left in the playoffs, and you have an observation about them, Dad. What is that?
Yeah, I do. When I was in agony with the sciatica and lying on the floor, it occurred to me, look, there's 8 teams left. Look at the 8 quarterbacks. In the NFC, there are 3 surefire future Hall of Famers. You name them, Iggy.
Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, and Drew Brees.
Right. I mean, they're flat out. They're all going to be in the Hall of Fame. In the AFC, we don't know. They're all too young, but they're all tremendously dynamic, unique. 3 of them, unique quarterbacks who bring something really special to the game and are elite.
Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and who's the third one? Patrick Mahomes. And then the fourth one is Baker Mayfield, who was the first pick in the draft. And then on the Rams, Jared Goff was the first pick in the draft. So these guys really have serious quarterbacks.
Right. And so here's my observation. Iggy has made a case, which is very compelling, that when you pay too much to a quarterback, i.e. in Seattle, you diminish the rest of your team. I'm not talking about money. Because I think Iggy has a really good argument. I'm not talking about money. I'm just saying it's not a mistake that the 8 teams left, if you take out Mayfield and Goff, who are not at that level, and they're going to get eliminated. But 6 of the 8 teams have absolutely phenomenal quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is, if you're going to be a serious team, i.e. win the Super Bowl, because that's what we're talking about, you need to have one of those, a guy like that. Now, why is this important? Because the Niners don't.
Right. I mean, what you gotta spend a first round pick on a quarterback. You're not going to find your franchise quarterback in the 3rd round, most likely. You're not going to find him as an undrafted free agent, most likely. Josh Allen was the 7th pick. Watson was the 12th. Mahomes was the 10th. Mayfield was the 1st. Aaron Rodgers was a 1st round pick. Brees was a 2nd round pick, and Brady was a 6th round pick, but those are the exceptions. The Niners have to find one of these guys. I don't know if they can find him this year. The way I look at the draft is there are no Josh Allens or Patrick Mahomes in this draft, but they're going to have to find someone that they can take in the 1st round, because if they don't, Jimmy isn't that guy. Is he, Dad?
Oh, no. In fact, in the press conference, the postmortem for the season, John Lynch, who's very articulate, said Jimmy Garoppolo has it. And he meant the X factor, the winning, what Joe Montana had. Well, if he has it, it was lowercase, not in capital letters. If he had it at any time, it has left the building.
Yeah,
he no longer has it, Iggy.
Yeah, it left on a cart along with his ACL. He doesn't have it anymore. If Russell Wilson can't get past the 1st round of the playoffs, Jimmy Garoppolo just isn't good enough. And you're right. Like the key is to get a great quarterback. Like sounds simple. It's really difficult. But the Niners could have had Patrick Mahomes. They could have had Deshaun Watson. They could have had Tom Brady. They could have had Tom Brady last year when they seemed like they were already kind of had questions about Jimmy Garoppolo, and they balked, to use a baseball metaphor. They freaking balked. So just because they keep waiting doesn't mean they can necessarily get one whenever they want. I don't know if they're going to be able to find one this year. They may have put themselves in a bad spot.
They have put themselves in a very bad spot. And again, my main point is, if you're serious about winning the Super Bowl, you have to have one of those.
Right.
And it's their own fault that they have not put themselves in position to have one of those. Jimmy Garoppolo is not one of those. Mm-hmm. Certain quarterbacks who are one of those didn't even get in. Roethlisberger, Wilson, Philip
Watson.
Rivers. What?
Rivers?
They didn't get in. And if they didn't get in, you're not getting in. You're not going far with Jimmy in this iteration of his career. And the 49ers are fooling themselves to think, if they think that he really is. I got one other thing to say.
Go ahead.
There's a lot of stuff now about you need athletic quarterbacks. You need quarterbacks who can run around. Well, they're very helpful. They're very good. My attitude is you need a great quarterback.
There you go. Yeah.
However the hell he plays, you need a great quarterback. And Brady doesn't run around. Brady is still one hell of a quarterback. He's not what he was. Breeze isn't what he was, but they've gotten past the first round. They're really good. So you say, well, we need a quarterback who runs around. One of these pocket quarterbacks, they're out of fashion. They don't go with my system. Change your damn system.
Yeah, make it work.
Change your system.
Yeah,
if you get one of those
rare.
guys, adapt your system to him.
Right. Yeah, so the question is, we agree, you got to get a great quarterback. But the question is how? Right now, Deshaun Watson, who is 25 and looks like he could become great, it seems like he might want out of Houston. And Niner fans are thinking, do the Herschel Walker trade it all. He's a quarterback. He's worth it. I haven't noticed that any team in the playoffs right now has done a trade like that. That doesn't necessarily seem to be the key to success. So how do you get one of these quarterbacks? Again, like I said, Allen was the 7th pick. Deshaun Watson was the 12th and Mahomes was the 10th. You don't necessarily have to trade up. You don't necessarily have to trade a million picks. Just draft a guy in the first round. And if he's Josh Allen, great. If he's only Baker Mayfield, the Browns are doing pretty well. The key is to not give him the big Mondo contract afterward. If Jimmy Garoppolo were cheap, you could win with them. But once he's making Jared Goff money, you're screwed. So I think the key is to draft a quarterback and then keep drafting quarterbacks until you get it right.
Iggy, I don't think you can be a big win with Jimmy Garoppolo anymore.
No.
No matter what his contract is. No matter what his contract is. I don't think he's good enough.
No,
they need to move on from him.
Yes. But all I'm saying is, you see what Cleveland's doing. I think it's important to remember that that's a different way of doing it. And they're not out yet. They have a very, very, very good team because they're not paying very much for their quarterback. And their quarterback is good, not great. So let's see what Cleveland does. I mean, because there are only 5 great quarterbacks in the world. Until you get one of those guys, you have to be doing something. You got to do something.
Iggy, who's a better quarterback, Mayfield or Garoppolo?
Mayfield. Cheaper, younger, better. Stronger arm.
Way better.
Stronger arm, younger, more mobile, tougher, more able to protect himself, has had fewer surgeries, better. Yes. Yep.
I agree.
Yep.
I agree. So anyway, while I've been having this sciatica, I've been lying on the floor thinking about there are 6 really, really elite quarterbacks in the final 8. And you know what? You really need them. You really need one of those. If not, you're kidding yourself.
And you know the funny thing, of all the Hall of Fame quarterbacks in the NFC that we've named, Rodgers, Brady, Breeze, they're all cheaper than Jimmy Garoppolo was this year.
Really?
All of them. All of them. That's right. So, Jimmy, I don't see how you win with that quarterback making that kind of money. He's too expensive, and he's not good enough. Shall we move on?
Sure.
All right. I've been talking recently about Kyle Shanahan and his poor decision making. Dad, what do you think is impeding Kyle Shanahan from making better decisions?
Okay. It may be because I'm not feeling well because I have this sciatica, but I'm on the warpath this morning. I have nothing personal against Kyle Shanahan. I've never met the guy, but he strikes me as a really, really arrogant person.
Me too.
And I think it's okay to be arrogant. Muhammad Ali was arrogant, but it's okay. But
Richard Sherman,
but not if it clouds your judgment.
Right.
And I'll give you some examples of how I think it clouds his judgment. in the Super Bowl last year, clearly his best running back was Raheem Mostert.
Yeah.
I mean, you knew that. I knew
He
that.
had just run for 200 and a million yards in the NFC Championship game. It wasn't a secret.
And Shanahan didn't start him. He started Coleman. Coleman was his guy, and he brought him in. And I think he wanted to show, I know what I'm doing. This is my guy. I want to start him. Another example, he drafted C.J. Beathard in the 3rd round, Iggy. And was that the same draft as Mahomes?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So he passed on Mahomes. He took Solomon Thomas in that one?
Yeah, he took Solomon Thomas. Arguably the worst draft pick in NFL history. Solomon Thomas.
And he could have had Mahomes, but he passed on him and he took this other guy who's not good enough. I mean, we don't even need to have that discussion. He's not good enough.
And that was evident years ago.
And he keeps him on the roster because he's so arrogant. He feels he can show people. This is my interpretation, of course. He can show people his judgment is flawless. Well, those are two real examples of allowing allowing arrogance to influence your decisions so that you make crummy decisions, and it hurts you.
You understand drafting a guy like C.J. Beathard and making the mistake, but once he's on your practice field and you see him, once he's in the games and you see him, you should be able to look with unbiased eyes and make the right decision, because you can do that. I can do that. It doesn't take an expert to watch a practice and see this, say that NFL player is better than that NFL player. I can do it. I do it every year in training camp. Kyle is much more of an expert than me. I believe that his ego prevents him from accurately seeing what's in front of him, which is a big problem. How do you make the right decision if you can't even see?
He can't see. And he needs someone in the organization, I don't believe he has one, who can say, you're not seeing. You need to get rid of Dante Pettis sooner.
Yes.
You're not seeing.
Hold on. Christopher just said that Ryan Leaf is the worst pick of all time. I think Solomon Thomas is even worse because the Chargers didn't miss on Patrick Mahomes when they took Ryan Leaf. They just took Leaf. The Niners missed out on Mahomes and Watson. Dad, keep going. I'm sorry.
Ryan, I have to say, Ryan Leaf was pretty bad, and I think he would admit it.
Oh, yeah, he's into that. He's into that. He's
into that, right? Into the self, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, those were my 3 examples of his incredible arrogance. Again, he may be a very nice person. Then again, he may not. I don't know him. But he is very arrogant, and I believe that's getting in the way of him being a good head coach.
Yeah, I mean, why is Trent Taylor still on the team? Kyle Shanahan's arrogance. Because it's like I can make him good. It doesn't matter. I can put him in good positions, and he was a good pick. He was the right pick. He wasn't a mistake. I don't make mistakes. You know, I can salvage this. This was the right move. Why was Dante Pettis on the team for 3 years? Why is C.J. Beathard still on the team? Why was Tevin Coleman starting? Why was Jerick McKinnon still on the team? Because Kyle won't allow himself to really see the truth.
So, Iggy, you think he actually thinks I don't make mistakes?
I don't make mistakes. I'm the smartest person here. The fact that this didn't work out was this was some bad luck here, or this guy messed up, or my thought process was right on the money, and I'll be damned if I say anything different. So he's more loyal to his ego than the team.
Yeah. You know, I read something recently where he said that he's a very friendly guy and he's friends with the players. You got a life-size picture of that?
I mean, he might give him a high five here and there, but he doesn't seem like a very extroverted person.
Right. You wouldn't think he's having a beer with the players.
No.
He's in the room thinking up plays.
Yes. That's what he, right. Yes, absolutely. He seems like a brilliant introvert that would rather be by himself, listening to music, drawing up plays.
Do you have a bug in your ear?
Yeah, so just right in my ear. I was like, what are you doing? I didn't like it.
Okay. You could get sciatica from that.
You could get sciatica from that.
I got a quiz for you.
Okay.
And I want you to be totally objective.
Okay.
I'm not looking for an answer.
Okay.
Better head coach, Shanahan, McVay.
McVay is a good decision maker. Better coordinator, Shanahan or McVay? Shanahan. Shanahan is more creative. Shanahan has more ideas. I get the feeling that McVay steals all his ideas from Shanahan. So that works. I can do this. But he's just such a more pragmatic decision maker. He's a better leader. He's more positive. He's more upbeat. He's a better head coach. And the results Show that. He's winning playoff games with a quarterback with a broken thumb. That's quite remarkable.
And who's not good when he doesn't have a broken thumb.
Yeah, Jared Goff is even worse than Jimmy Garoppolo.
He's worse. Yeah.
He's worse. Yeah.
I want to say one thing about McVay. When they had big plays in their game last weekend, he ran down the field to greet the players, like Pete Carroll.
Like Robert Saleh.
Like Robert Saleh. And Shanahan, he's sort of like he's on to the next series.
On to the next play. He's looking down. He's looking down. I almost get the feeling that if he could, he'd be up in the booth. But he can't because he's the head coach. He'd rather be up in the booth where it's quiet and he can concentrate. That's where he was on the Falcons.
Hey, Iggy, yeah. I get the feeling he would rather coach in his head than coach real people.
Yeah, it's like what was that show on Netflix about Queen's Gambit, where she watches the game on the ceiling? That's him. He's watching the game on the ceiling.
Yeah, and I don't think he particularly likes the part where you talk to the people.
No, or where the players mess up his plays.
Right?
Right, because his plays are all perfect and they mess him up.
Yeah,
the quarterback messes him up. One more thing about Kyle Shanahan and his arrogance, not letting him see. The most recent example is Mike McGlinchey. Mike McGlinchey is the worst right tackle in the league. He's a freaking embarrassment. He looks about 30 pounds underweight, and Kyle Shanahan can't see it. He's like, no, he's fine. It's just a few plays. He'll be good. I'll talk to him. He'll be great. He lost a little weight.
Didn't they pick up his option?
They said they're going to.
Okay.
So he's in complete denial because he must have said, he must have told a bunch of scouts, you're wrong. We're taking McGlinchey. That's the end of story.
Right. And so for him, in spite of all the evidence that you've put out over the last few months, for Shanahan, he even said we would pick him again where we picked him.
Right. That's classic Shanahan. It's not enough to just say, look, we're sticking with him. He's a good player. We'll figure it out. He has to take the extra leap and say, and we do it again, too. Well, congratulations. Standing ovation, Kyle.
I like the phrase classic Shanahan. So how do you now, because we got a concept here.
Yeah.
Remember, I'm on my feet today. I'm on my toes, so I'm smart.
Yeah.
How do you define classic Shanahan?
I wasn't wrong, and I'd do it again. Kyle, why didn't you run the ball in the second half of the Super Bowl? I wasn't wrong, and I'd do it again. It was the right call. Well, wonderful. When you get to the Super Bowl and lose the third one, I hope you say that again. It's really inspirational. I wasn't wrong, and I'd do it again. The Kyle Shanahan story.
I love it. You could do T-shirts. I wasn't wrong, and I'd do it again.
Yes, that's Kyle Shanahan. And he has like a legion of fans who say, he wasn't wrong, and he should do it again. He wasn't wrong. He just needs a great quarterback. Okay. Well, everyone just needs Aaron Rodgers. But you know what? You're not going to get Aaron Rodgers. So what are you going to do?
He had a chance
on Tom Brady.
Yeah, he had a chance for Mahomes.
Had a chance for Tom Brady. Brady's in the playoffs. He didn't get knocked out. Brady didn't get hurt this year. I don't know, man. Maybe Shanahan likes the excuse more than he wants to have the actual quarterback. Because when you have the quarterback, you have to produce.
Yeah. It's like Don Nelson always used to tell me, I could win championships, but I never have a center. You know what, Don? Get a center.
You know,
he used to tell me, I never got a center. We'll get one.
You want to play small ball. All right. Let's talk Robert Saleh because he's in the news and he could be a head coach any minute. This morning, it was revealed, it reported that he's going for a second interview with the Jets, and he's also going to have his first interview with the Eagles, who recently fired Doug Peterson. He has been interviewed by every team except the Texans. So let's stick with the Jets and the Eagles in particular. In your opinion, which is the better landing spot and which is the worst one?
Okay. I want to talk about the Eagles first. What took him so long to fire Doug Peterson? He alienated the quarterback. What he did at the end of that regular season it was a shanda, Iggy. It was terrible what he did.
I get the feeling he would have kept his job if he hadn't done that, but he legitimately lost on purpose and made it obvious.
Yeah, it was disgusting.
Yeah.
Now, I think Saleh won't get that job. But again, what the hell do I know?
The Eagles?
Because they need an offensive coach.
Right. They need someone who can salvage that Carson Wentz's career. They're so tied into him. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just think, although they're talking to Saleh, they should
hire Adam Gase. What do you think, Dad?
A retread loser.
Yeah, retread loser. Okay, so basically Saleh interview in Philly, but leverage them. Don't, if you can have, that's your safety. That's your safety school. That's
what I think.
Yeah. All right. So what do you think about, let's talk about the Jets. The Jets are interesting. You think of the Jets and you're like, well, that's a kind of hasn't been a good organization. Plus everyone says that it's really tough to be a coach in New York because of the media. Do you think he could handle that?
Well, let's talk about the media second.
Yes.
You think the Jets would be good for him. Tell us why, and then we'll talk about the media.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know much about their owner, but they have the second pick in the draft. They have a lot of picks. They have cap space. They have young players. They've been bad for a long time, so they've been picking in the top 10 consistently, and you kind of almost become good eventually. That's what the Niners do. That's what most teams do. It's what the Browns did. So they're not paying $100 million for a quarterback who's 36 like the Falcons are. I'd rather coach the Jets than the Falcons, and if you think about it.
I agree.
Yeah. I mean, Houston, they have Deshaun Watson, but he wants to leave. That seems like that team is going to have to tear itself down before it builds itself back up. I wouldn't want to coach that team. Detroit with Matthew Stafford, I mean, no one ever makes that work. I don't know. I'd like to start over with the Jets if I were him.
Iggy, I don't know who the Jets GM is. Do you?
I don't know who the Jets GM is. No.
Yeah, I don't know.
No. Chris, so yeah, I think we both agree that but what I wanted to ask you is Saleh and the media with New York.
Yeah, now that's a very important thing. The media in New York can destroy you. Mm-hmm. They're much more aggressive than I am.
Yes.
Because I've been living away from New York for a long time. They're very aggressive and they look for fights.
Yes.
You know Saleh and I don't. Some coaches have not been able to handle it.
Yes.
How do you think Saleh would do?
First of all, I think the criticism would really hurt his feelings. I think he's sensitive. I think he doesn't like to be criticized, but who likes to be criticized? On the other hand, I think he would he would win over the media. Now you have to win. Winning, you can't just be charming, but I think he would win. And I think the media would really, really like him because he's open. He's, smart, he's articulate, he answers questions in depth, and he gives everyone personal time. Like he'd be the kind of guy who would bring all the writers into his office. He would be a throwback like that. He would want to get to know you. He'd learn your name. You would like doing business with him, and he's very professional.
Okay. I by the way, from what I know about him, I think he would, if he could win, he would be very successful in New York, New Jersey, because the Hudson River is in the middle there. I got one for you. How would Kyle Shanahan do in New York?
I don't think he would do well in New York, Dad. I think he would crumble in New York.
I do too.
It's too much. It's too much. I think he wants to be left alone, and you can't be left alone in New York. I think Santa Clara is a pretty good spot for him because even though it's a big metropolitan area, it's kind of like a minor league town in terms. It's like almost like San Antonio in terms of how sports teams are covered and treated.
Yeah,
almost revered.
Yeah, for the little that he's produced, he's gotten very little heat. In New York, this season they would have said, "Oh, yeah, a lot of injuries," and he would have been excoriated. I can tell you that because I grew up in New York, and I think it would be hard for him. I think Saleh would be able to handle it better, from what I know about them.
Look what just happened to Doug Peterson in Philly. He won the Super Bowl. Won it. Didn't lose like Kyle. Won the Super Bowl, and things fell apart with Carson Wentz. You're fired.
Right.
Same thing happened to Kyle Shanahan, except he lost. Then things fall apart with Jimmy Garoppolo and 6-year extension.
Yeah, 6-year extension. It's a lot different, right?
It's a lot different. Yeah. Yeah. So real quick, Chris Walsh says Jim Harbaugh or Kyle Shanahan as a head coach. Better head coach. What do you think?
Oh, Jim Harbaugh.
Yes.
Do you agree?
Again, Shanahan's a better coordinator. Harbaugh was never a coordinator. But Harbaugh made great decisions. He didn't lose games with his game management. He could see which players were good. He didn't play AJ Jenkins just to make someone happy. He played the best players.
Or to show he was an expert.
Right. Now, he wasn't picking the players. That's part of the virtue of separating the jobs and having one guy pick the players and one guy coach the team, because now the coach can look at it objectively and not say, well, I picked that guy. I want to keep picking the players. So Harbaugh was honest. He benched AJ Jenkins for his career. That was great.
And also Harbaugh, like Shanahan, did go to the Super Bowl and lost. But how many NFC championships did he win?
3 in a row.
That's,
He went to 3 in a row. He went to 3 in a row.
that's
Lost 2,
pretty
won
good.
1. Yep.
And I think he didn't get, they called it parting of ways. He got fired, I think.
Yeah, mutual party.
He didn't get fired for performance, although they were 8-8 his last year. He got fired because he couldn't get along with the owner.
That's right. You don't get fired for going 8-8 your worst year. All right, final topic for us, and we can take some questions. Do we blame Trent Williams for testing free agency? Remember, Dad, the Niners traded a 3rd-round pick for him. They gave him money up front. They agreed not to franchise tag him. It seemed like they were trying to create some goodwill or some type of we'll do you a favor, you do us a favor. They approached him with a contract extension offer before week 17, and it was reported that they could not agree. And now he says he's going to hit free agency. He'd love to come back to the 49ers, but they have to. He'd also love to see what his worth is. So, Dad, do you blame Trent Williams for doing this?
No, I want to be very clear on this. He's not a fan. He's a businessman.
Right.
His business is Trent Williams.
Right.
His business is to get the best deal he can in the limited amount of time, which is very limited now, that he has left. So that's how a business works. He would be a schmuck to say, I'm going to take less money and go back to the 49ers who have a losing record.
Yeah.
What he's saying is, Niners, you're competing for me among other teams, and I'm giving you no preference. Show me the money. And you know what, Iggy? That's what professional sports are all about.
Right. It's not like he thinks of himself as a 49er. He thinks of himself as an NFL player who is currently stationed in Santa Clara.
I agree.
Right.
He's a freelancer.
He's a freelancer. I mean, he spent about 10 years with Washington, and he didn't feel any loyalty to that team. He got the hell out. He quit on them for a year. He had reasons. But, I mean, he saw himself as, again, looking out for himself, and he's going to continue to do that. And I would do the same thing because these teams aren't looking out for him.
Yeah, so not only do I not put Trent Williams down, I applaud him for what he's doing. And let's be real clear, Iggy. He used the 49ers to give him sort of like he did an audition for the league by playing really well for the 49ers. He used them.
Yes.
But they used him too.
Right.
It was just he used them better.
Right. I mean, exactly. They needed a left tackle to replace Joe Staley, and they didn't have much to give. So they traded a 3rd-round pick for a guy who'd be cheap, who'd be expensive the next year. And they said, well, we're going to try to win the Super Bowl this one year. It didn't work out. It was really not worth it. If they lose him, it was a waste of a pick. And like you said, Trent Williams used the Niners better than the Niners used Trent Williams. That's the way it goes. Sorry. That's business.
And I want to say one other thing about free agency.
Yeah.
I'm an old guy, and when I was a fan and growing up in New York, there was no such thing as free agency.
Right.
Luke Snyder was the center fielder for the Dodgers, Mickey Mantle for the Yankees, and Willie Mays for the New York Giants.
That's what it was.
And they weren't free agents. Yeah. So what happened is you got an emotional attachment to these players as a fan. Mm-hmm. I remember what it was like to be a fan. You got an emotional attachment, and what's more, they wanted you to. Mm-hmm. Now, players got free agency. God love them. Of course, I would want to have it if I were a player. But it breaks down that feeling of, I identified with Willie Mays of the Giants, and I love them. They traded him to the Mets.
That's right. And so now, because of free agency, you know what has taken the place of regular fandom, or at least right next to it? Fantasy football. Because instead of rooting for teams, you just pick your own players and make your own team. And it's like, free agency. So now you just watch a game and some random guy on some random team caught a pass. Oh, that's 2 points for me. And that's how people watch football. I don't really play fantasy football because it doesn't really make any sense to me. I
want to say, in my experience of covering sports, the worst offender of any of the professional teams I covered in terms of not allowing fans to feel that they had an investment in the team is the Oakland A's.
Oh, God. It was almost like they were like trying to hurt the fans' feelings. Oh, you like this guy? You like him? Oh, well, we're trading him just because he didn't come to the games last year. Sorry. Yeah. If you want him to keep him, then come to all of our games.
Right.
Thanks a lot, guys. The richest owners in baseball, anyway. All right, so those are all our topics. Dad, how's your back doing? Fact check.
I can go a little longer.
All right. Well, if you got any questions, we'll answer them. But remember, my dad has sciatica, so let's be easy on him. Is Mike Shanahan a good fit to add on as OC or consultant? Maybe Kyle needs a senior staff member.
I would say absolutely not.
Why?
First of all, he is a consultant already. You don't think they talk on the phone like you and I talk, Iggy?
That's right.
He's from what I understand, he has film at his house and Shanahan
He watches
and
the practices.
all of that. So I think Kyle needs to hear other voices. He hears this voice all the time.
Yeah.
You're doing great, son. You know what, but whatever, right?
Yeah.
I like Mike Shanahan, but he's a pretty arrogant guy too.
Hey, where do you think Kyle gets it?
Yeah, it's like you got all your brilliance and sweetness from me. That's how it works.
Exactly. Yeah.
So no, I think he needs somebody else in the building, and certainly not Mike Shanahan.
No, you're right. Someone who doesn't say I love you. Someone who says, Kyle, you're wrong. I don't even think Mike would say that to him. From what I read in the Washington Post, because the East Coast media does a really good job of finding out the truth. They were saying back when Mike Shanahan was the head coach and Kyle was the offensive coordinator like 10 years ago that it was basically Kyle's team. Whatever he wanted to do, Mike said yes. Put this in the game plan, yes. Get this player, yes. So they need someone who says no, Kyle. No. I don't know if anyone's ever said no to Kyle. I don't know. I don't even think Dan Quinn said no to him back in Atlanta. Remember, that was the problem.
That was the problem at the end of the Super Bowl. He should have said no.
Should have said no.
Would you run the ball?
Right. Run the freaking ball. Okay. Quick question from Rob Mahone. What would Bill Walsh's advice to Shanahan be this offseason?
Well, that's a very good question. It's very hard to speak for another person, especially who's no longer with us.
Yes.
I'm trying, so bear with me for a second. Okay. I know what his advice would be.
What would it be?
Get a freaking quarterback.
Get a freaking quarterback.
Get a freaking quarterback.
How long are you gonna wait?
Get a freaking quarterback.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't care how you do it, buddy, but it can't be the CJ Beathard show next year. It can't be the Jimmy Garoppolo show next year. Because if they bring Jimmy back next year, all they're waiting for is the same thing to happen this year that happened last year, and then they can blame Jimmy. Like, okay, now we know that Jimmy isn't good enough. You knew that. You knew that already.
And Iggy, Bill Walsh would have known that Jimmy isn't good enough. He would have known it. He never would have got him.
He didn't stick with Steve DeBerg for 4 years. This guy's Steve DeBerg, Dad.
Bill got rid of him so fast, and he started in games. He would always, in certain plays, Joe Montana would come in, and Bill, he was crafty. He would say, well, it was maybe a better play for Joe, but he was like beginning to make the transition right there.
Right. We'll start you off with 4 plays a game. Next time it's 8 plays. Yep.
Yeah.
See how you handle that. Yeah, I like that. Okay. Good question. Bill, I hope we didn't take we didn't misrepresent you if you're listening from above. How is Carmen policy different from Lynch?
Okay. That's a tough one. I don't know Lynch as an adult. I knew him as a college student.
Yeah.
Lynch knows much more about players than Carmen.
Right.
I don't think Carmen was the person who got players. He was the person who oversaw an organization where really skillful people did their jobs. Mm-hmm. And if they didn't do their jobs, Carmen would have something to say about it. So Lynch is much more of a guy who knows how to, I guess, get players, but Carmen is much more of a guy who knows how to set up a great organization.
Yeah. Lynch is a guy who's the face of the organization, and you trust him because he was him. He was a player. He was a media guy. John Lynch. It's like having, I don't know, Willie Mays come back and be the face of your organization. But it's not the same thing as having someone actually run it who's business savvy.
Also, Carmen is a brilliant lawyer.
Yes.
Carmen,
yes.
Contracts and other things that happen on a team. Carmen is way at a different level from Lynch.
If you were thinking of the 49ers as like the Corleone family, then Carmen would be Tom Hagen, right?
Okay.
What do you mean? I mean, he's the guy who's in control of the whole operation, right? You got to run everything by Tom.
Yeah, you have to run it by Tom. I don't like to think of them as.
No, I'm just saying. I'm not saying they're like that, but I'm just saying Lynch. I don't think Lynch would be Tom Hagen. Lynch would be, I don't know, Sonny. I don't know.
No, he doesn't have a temper like Sonny.
It's true.
But he would be one of the two. The fat guy, you know.
Oh yeah, that's true. All right, good call. Good point. Who would Eddie DeBartolo be, Grant? He would be. Are you kidding? He would be Marlon Brando. He'd be Marlon Brando.
He'd be Marlon Brando.
No question. Yeah. All right.
Iggy, you love that movie, right?
I love that movie. Yes,
I
like that. I love the second one too. Those are a lot of fun. All right, my dad has sciatica. If you have a question, now's the time. Otherwise, we're going to shut it down. On a kind of sciatica.
Sciatica.
All right, Dad. I think we need to let you go. I think it's time. Let him. What do you think?
I think so. Maybe what I'll do is lie on the floor again with some ice under me.
All right, I'm going to call you up first, though. All right.
Okay, everybody. I really enjoyed this, and thanks for tuning in. And Happy New Year.
My team over yours says Jed York is Fredo Corleone. All right, let's end on that one. Dad, I'll call you.
Okay.